So we're taking a look at Shadow of the Tomb Raider running on the i5-1135G7. Now you're looking at the built-in performance benchmark running at 720p with the lowest possible settings, and we do have the FX CAS upscaling enabled, and it is set to about 50%. Now the CAS upscaler is not fantastic. It's pretty much just like the very early versions of FSR, but it does at least look better than just natively dropping the resolution, so there's that at least, but it does introduce some interesting artifacts. Now you might be wondering why I'm doing the in-game benchmark, and the reason for that is just that when I first launched the game at 720p low settings, loading into the game, the performance was awful. Absolutely awful. So I came into the benchmarks to mess around with settings and figure out what would work. This is the best possible performance I could get. 720p with a 50% resolution drop with like an upscaler on, and even then in areas like this you'll see like, oh, the numbers look good, but as soon as you get anywhere with like any kind of population, the frame rate tanks. And the worst part is you can even visually see during the benchmark when frame drops happen. Like you will see the spike in the frame times, and like the performance just drops. Now you see the little spike there, that's just things loading in, but you'll see as you know the test is running, things will be popping in and the performance just is not great whatsoever. It's really just in these more open areas where there's not too much going on the screen that the performance seems all right, but it's, again, as soon as you get anywhere with like any amount of like detail or anything like that, it tanks the frame rate. And I think over the progression of the series, I've actually done a good job of getting the in-game benchmark tool to actually represent what it's like to play the game, because the first game, that benchmark tool was garbage, but this one, it actually reflects how the game actually plays. You know, it's not like just these pre-made scenes that like don't represent the game at all. Like this is relatively similar to what the performance is going to be like in areas like this. And really, you can see the hit in visual quality that you have to take to get to this level of performance. Like this game just, if you ask me, it's not playable on this chip. It's just not. I tried playing it even with these settings. I did not have a good time. I pretty much ended up, you know, quitting almost immediately. And you can see why, really. For the most part, you're going to be struggling to get 30 in areas where you're actually going to be doing things besides just, you know, walking around and like experiencing cutscenes. So I did also test out DirectX 12 because I was hoping it would perform at least slightly better than 11, and it was actually worse. You'll see there's something missing in this image, and it'll tell you in a bit. A whole lot was missing there. And you can also notice there is this kind of like ghosting artifact over all of this, and I think that just has to do with like the CAS like upscaling. But it's just like, it's this noticeable little ghosting image that's kind of just over everything, and it almost looks like a little checkerboard. It's very noticeable, and it's like, it's a weird issue, and it only happens with like DX12. DX11, this is not noticeable. DX12, it's just all over. So overall, I'd say this game not playable on this chip.